This record is arguably one of the most influential albums that we will ever talk about on this channel. Let's get into it. Now then guys, Quinnsdude here, back on the Rad Music Chat channel. Thank you so much for joining once again. As I always say, quick bit of housekeeping. If you are new to the channel, if you could subscribe to it, that would really help. And we'll let you know whenever I upload new stuff. Down below is the thumbs up if you enjoy this video, that really helps as well. And of course, get your comments in. For this record, we are jumping back into the 1001 Albums You Must Hear Before You Die book. Amongst us music nerds, the discussion of the greatest debut album ever always throws up a lot of the usual suspects, and this album is never far away from that conversation. This album started a whole new genre and remains one of the most influential albums to come out of the UK. I am, of course, talking about the Stone Roses debut album, which was released on the 2nd of May, 1989. Lots of genres attached to this one, but we'll just take indie rock, dance rock and psychedelia. What's so astonishing about this album is the fact that the band took their love for several genres and melded them together seamlessly to make the record. So you've got the 60s psychedelic rock and pop music, the band's love for the burgeoning underground rave scene and dance scene that was going on at the time in the UK, and also their early influence of British 80s underground goth rock as well. To understand how loved this record still is, BBC Radio 2, as recently as 2020, ran a Ultimate 80s album poll, and this record came third. It beat the likes of Thriller by Michael Jackson, Appetite for Destruction, Guns N' Roses, and Purple Rain by Prince. Q Magazine, in conjunction with HMV, also ran a poll asking people what they thought the best British album of all time was, and this album came fifth. So let's get into some of the actual content on the album. I mean, you want highlights, as I like to say, throw a dart. Regular viewers to the channel will know that I do always like to comment on the first track of an album, whether I like it or not. And the first track on this album, I Want to Be Adored, is absolutely amazing. You're 40 seconds in before you actually get an instrument playing. Before that, it's just some kind of strange industrial white noise. At 40 seconds in, that bass line comes in that just sticks with you after just hearing it once. And then when the drums kick in properly with the guitar, the riff is calling it anything else but euphoric just seems wrong. The lyrical content of I Want to Be Adored is often discussed, and it basically sounds like it's talking about selling your soul to the devil, and is definitely worth looking into. It's just shows you how dark the Stone Roses actually were, and remain so. And which is ironic because a lot of the bands and music they went on to influence would never go as dark as the Stone Roses did. Track 2, She Bangs the Drums, takes things a bit lighter, with a really driving rock beat from drummer Rennie and an earworm bass line from Manny. This was actually the band's first top 40 single, and to show you how things have moved on and times have changed, it got to number 36 and sold 400,000 copies. I mean, you sell 400,000 copies of a single in today's world, you're going to be number one for a very long time. You have Waterfall, which is a really pretty track, very Birds-like, jangly, with a beautiful vocal and hook from Ian Brown. This one actually was the fourth single off the album. This one reached 27 in the UK charts by selling 600,000 copies. Just wild numbers that you know, tell you how many physical sales that singles had to do to chart at all. Immediately out the gate, bang, 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 you've got those three songs that just arguably are got to be up there with like the three best opening songs on an album. The momentum's lost a little bit. I know that this song, track 4, Don't Stop, does have its fans, but for me it's the only skip on the album. It's basically the music from the previous track, Waterfall, rearranged and played backwards with some new lyrics over the top. It's certainly very clever, quite interesting, but for me just kind of stops the album in its tracks. The track Made of Stone for me is almost the quintessential Stone Roses track. It kind of, if you wanted to show someone the, you know, what the band's all about for the most part in one song, it starts quite eerie and sinister. It's got an amazing guitar solo. That's one thing I was going to say is, in indie rock you tend not to have so much guitar heroes, so to speak, but John Squire was, you know, has always been a proper guitar hero, and his worship of Jimmy Page is quite evident, especially in the Stone Roses' second album, Second Coming, but that's for a different day. Made of Stone then has the really sort of disco-y, dancey drum beat, with the bass and drums locking in. Yeah, as I said, the wonderful solo, Ian Brown's lower register, and also a great hooky chorus. Just fantastic track, Made of Stone, arguably my favourite. A track that's not really often spoken about from this album, but I feel worthy of mentioning here, is the track Shoot You Down. I don't even know really how to describe this track. It's almost like the Stone Roses doing a kind of bluesy jazz track. The kind of shuffling beat from Rennie is so good, yeah, just make sure that you pay particular attention to that track. It doesn't sound like anything else on the album, but also doesn't sound out of place on the album, which is super clever. No review or retrospective or chat about this album is complete without talking about final track, I Am the Resurrection. Now, there are certain versions of this where the iconic track Fool's Gold, which is arguably their most well-known track, is the last track on it, but that's not the original version, so we ignore that here. So I Am the Resurrection is 8 minutes of just absolute epicness. It's like an indie rock psychedelic prog song almost. It's a journey in itself, and it's goes through so many moods, but it's so ecstatic and euphoric, and I believe there was, during the 90s and early noughties, there was rarely an indie student night that wouldn't finish with this track. That's it for this one, guys. I've really enjoyed it. Now, you'll often hear me say on especially albums that we do from the 1001 Albums book that it's been a joy rediscovering this album. But to be honest with you, this one I pull out for a few rotations every couple of months anyway. So let me know what you think. I'd love to know down in the comments. As I say, subscribe to the channel, please, and like it if you enjoyed this video. That's it for this one. Stay rad.